Hello, I'm Super Orange Cat here. I'm today with another update on the current coronavirus outbreak. And like as I expected, the situation has been getting worse and worse over time. And some of the very notable updates from the last few days, at least since the last time I updated you, I believe a week or so ago, is that the death count has very closely approached the 4,000 mark, which will be about 5 times as many who died throughout the whole SARS outbreak, which was about in 2002, so about 17, 18 years ago. And also note this virus is very similar to the SARS virus, except for it has a few key changes which make it even more lethal. Most notably, the fact that it is more durable, as in it can survive on surfaces for at least 2 weeks. We have anecdotal examples that it can survive even longer than that. Other notable things is it's really developed notable hotspots in South Korea, Italy, Japan, France, Germany, and Spain, and also a couple places in Seattle area, in the San Francisco area, and in Winchester County in New York. So ultimately, this situation has been getting worse and worse. And also, what I like to note is particular, it's the fact that some of the more what's happened, like how people have responded to it. In fact, I believe there's a viral video, I believe from Australia, of two women fighting over the last thing of toilet paper in their local supermarket. And that actually highlights I don't see this as an end of the world situation like some people are, but this is a situation that's virtually guaranteed to get out of hand, and you might want to be prepared for at least a couple weeks worth of supplies, most notably canned foods. Make sure you have a can opener, by the way. It seems stupid, oh, it's a can opener, but try opening cans without a can opener. It's not a fun experience. And also, toilet paper. That's actually wasn't really well, it's stupid. You're fighting over toilet paper, but that's not a bad idea. Keep stocked on stuff like toilet paper, stuff that's essentials or on the verge of being essentials. I call toilet paper, since technically you don't need it, but at the same time, it is important in being sanitary, so might as well. And also, basically, just do basic normal health practices like wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, and the like. Be careful who you physically touch. Be careful what public surfaces you touch. Like, for example, I take the subway every day, so that's a giant petri dish right there, you know. So I stay very vigilant of what I touch, and to this point, I have stayed coronavirus free. Thank God, you know. At the same time, though, but the coronavirus is kind of close to where I am. A local school system near me has closed for tomorrow because a teacher had tested positive for coronavirus, and they only tested her after she got very sick in class. So it's very likely that a lot of those kids do, in fact, now also have the coronavirus. So would not be surprised if that area becomes a hot center for the virus. So it's turned into kind of a scary situation for me because it actually has gotten hit close to home to me now. But nonetheless, again, death rate, it depends on who you ask. The general consensus is that it's still in the ballpark of 2-ish%. However, there has been some data that has revised it up to about 3.4%. And if you look at deaths over closed cases, it's more like 7 to 8%. So again, only time will tell over time how deadly this virus is. There are some rumors that the Iranian hot center, the hotspot in Iran, is because of a virus that has mutated to become even more deadlier. It's the reason why the death rate seems to be higher there than for other places. But again, it can also be due to Iran's poor health infrastructure and the fact that they're not really testing people, but they are seeing the bodies. And probably actually, contrary to what you usually expect from Iran, I think based on how the numbers are increasing for them, they're actually reporting the numbers right. Unlike China, which I emphatically believe is completely BSing their numbers now. They're trying to say they're borderline none at this point. I think they said they only had 50 cases all day yesterday, and I honestly doubt that. China, especially in the Wuhan area, in Hubei province, is a complete war zone right now. It's illegal to leave your house right now. And anecdotal evidence, and for what video we've gotten from the country, I'm willing to believe that the death toll in Hubei province alone is much higher than the around 3,000 mark they've been saying. But again, at the same time, And this is also spread to, I looked this up, every single as of me making this video, every single country in Europe has the coronavirus, with the exception of Montenegro. And just as I say that, I'm fully expecting the next time I check, Montenegro has its first case or something. But pretty pretty interesting, especially considering there are actually a few countries in South America that don't have it yet. Oceania doesn't really have it yet, outside of like Australia and New Zealand. I mean, like Samoa, those types of islands don't have it yet. Greenland doesn't have it yet, so maybe we'll win this game of Plague Inc., I guess. And hilariously enough, Madagascar doesn't have it yet. So another reference to Plague Inc. for you guys there. But overall, this is a situation that is getting worse by the day. And also another notable thing, like a lot of people, like I said, it's 2020, it's an election year. People are going to inevitably politicize this. And you have a bunch of people saying this is Donald Trump's fault. And although I believe he could have done a little better with his response, like I saw like a tweet he made earlier today saying that comparing this to the flu, which is the time old excuse of people who aren't taking this virus seriously, saying, "Oh, the virus kills thousands of people. This thing's only killed 20 in the United States so far." Calm, like the more or less keep calm and carry on. Basically, that's misunderstanding the situation here. Especially, like I mentioned, there's a hotspot that's likely to develop near where I am, and the fact that Seattle is a hotspot, San Francisco is a hotspot, and when a place develops in the hotspot, cases increase rapidly, and that's something that is going to get worse as time goes on. And the stock market today went down about 2,000 points. And there's a bit of an asterisk saying this is just the coronavirus's fault, because there is currently an ongoing oil war between Saudi Arabia and Russia, where they are dropping each other's prices, which caused the price of oil to now be below $28 a barrel right now. Which, if you asked me in like 2008 when oil was like $150 a barrel, that, oh, it's going to be $28 a barrel again, I would have thought you were high, but here we are. But at the same time, and this is only a problem. The stock market's only necessarily a problem if your finances are very dependent on the stock market. Like you throw all your assets into stocks, which already any financial advisor will tell you is a foolhardy strategy at best. Or if you have like a Roth IRA, or if you're retiring soon and you're going to need those retirement funds, which are currently tied in the stock market. Because I foresee, even if the coronavirus gets worse, people are going to start accepting it as kind of this inevitable part of daily life, which is macabre to think about, probably realistic. So I foresee the stock market improving. And people saying, oh, it's the Donald Trump crash, the Donald Trump virus. And I wouldn't call myself a Trump supporter at all, but it's not, like, the virus is not Trump's fault. There's only, well, only, but 600 cases in the US. Compare that to China, the epicenter of all this, where they have probably hundreds of thousands of cases. It's overall, it says like 114,000 now, but I would not be surprised if there's like 300, 400,000 in China alone. And it's China's fault. Like, and China had horrible maintenance of the problem in the beginning. They just attack the people who are trying to speak up about it instead of doing anything about the virus itself. And by the time they started doing anything about the virus itself, it was too late, and it was destined to become a pandemic because it was the Lunar New Year. So people all over the world travel to China, and when they travel back to their home places, they spread the virus with them, and that's why it's a pandemic. And also, nothing to the World Health Organization. Why have you not called this a pandemic yet? It has gone pandemic a long time ago. Now you're just like, oh, it might be a pandemic. It's like, no, it's been a pandemic. It's literally in a majority of the countries on Earth right now, and it has killed more than 4,000. By the time I finish this video, it'll be over 4,000 people, and it's gonna spread and get worse. This is already probably the worst viral outbreak since the Spanish flu outbreak of 1918 during World War One, and you aren't doing anything about it. In fact, you're coddling China, saying, "Oh, they did a good job," but they very plainly didn't. And also the CDC too. The CDC has also bungled the situation. Explain to me why you have people who you know are positive coronavirus. You're flying them in a plane across country to Atlanta because that's where the CDC is. I don't get it. you know they're positive, and what their excuse is saying is like, oh, they're not showing symptoms. This has been shown to spread from person to person asymptomatically. You know this, and you're still doing this. The CDC has been just as bad at propagating the virus in the US as any other person has. And meanwhile, everyone's like trying to politicize this, saying, like, oh, it's Donald Trump is spreading the virus when he hasn't done anything about the virus. And in fact, kudos to some people, even high level people who are like, I may have come to contact, so I'm going to self quarantine, which includes several people. Because I think there's someone at CPAC, which was like the annual conservative conference, who ended up testing positive. So if these conservative figures come out and say, well, I'm going to self quarantine now. If they keep doing that, then good for them, you know. And again, it's a rare situation where I'm going to say anything positive about like a Ted Cruz or something, but nonetheless, off my box. CDC has bungled a situation. They've played a role in making this bad here. World Health Organization probably killed thousands of people in their response. But hey, here I am, just a guy who LARPs as a cat on the internet. What do I know? I'm Super Orange Cat, and that is all.